I didn't shave today, and I was like, oh, should I? You know, I'm like, I look pretty good. I'm glad that you're rocking the beard, man, and a way more fucking respectable beard than I have.
It takes some time, man. You should have seen it during quarantine.
What are you talking about? We're still in quarantine. Don't tell me you broke quarantine.
Dude, it's been done. It's everybody's so over it by now.
Yeah, especially us, man, because we're young, man. You know, like you know, if you're old and you got like bad health and stuff like that, you got to stay your ass inside. But like the rest of us,
Well, just look at Oreo, dude. He was just in fucking Cabo like a couple days ago.
yeah. But that I don't want to get into that. His doctor be telling him like to not work out and shit. You know, not to put his business out there. But you know, my doctor too. You know, I told him I had a bad back, and he's like, "Don't work out." I'm like, "Oh fuck that! I'm gonna work out." Like you know, and we're young. You know, like you know. You're supposed to fucking beat up your body, you know, take risks and stuff like that. Like calculated risks. But yeah, I wouldn't go to Cabo, man. That's fucking crazy. I wouldn't get on a plane. Like I would go out, but I wouldn't get on a plane right now.
Yeah, Raul and I just went to we went to Dallas July 4th. So plane was empty though, so it was like no big deal. But
so Club Tijuana. I used to say Tijuana. I used to say Tijuana. My wife gets mad at me because she's Mexican, you know, from Juarez. She's like, it's not Tijuana, it's Tijuana. But before we get into this Latinx thing, and this is going to be the last time I talk about it, you know, I wrote about it. And, you know, again, that one piece I wrote in December 2015, right? Yeah. I was an editor at Latino Rebels, for anybody who doesn't know what we're talking about. I was an editor. I was the deputy editor, basically the main editor, the day-to-day editor at Latino Rebels. I would edit all the stuff and post it every day. So in December 2015, I get this thing, the case for Latinx, and it's written by these two LGBT Latina professors. And they're making the case for Latinx. And I'm reading it. I'm the editor, so I'm just reading it for like flow and style and everything. But in the back of my mind, I'm like, this is that academic bullshit, like fucking woke bullshit. Like nobody's gonna, like they're having these discussions that nobody really is talking about, right? Like in the everyday world. And so I wrote a thing against it, right? The case against Latinx. And now people are still talking about that piece, right? And they think like that I really care about Latinx. I don't care what the fuck you call yourself fucking the Queen of England, whatever you want to call yourself. But don't say that if I don't adopt what you're doing, then I'm wrong, then I'm against progress, then I'm closed-minded. Like, no, like it's funny that they're called liberals, but then they want to control what you say, what you think, what you blah blah blah. And if you're not that, like somebody just wrote, Cesar Vargas just wrote on Latino Rebels, like, you know, get your family and get the fuck out of here, you homophobic, misogynist. Like, dude, like, I thought you were supposed to be freedom loving and inclusive and kumbaya, like, you know. But anyways, so I got interviewed for the Time, from Time magazine. Somebody wanted to get, I guess, the opposite view, and I posted it. And well, first of all, before we start, tell everybody what you do.
All right. Well, first off, my name's Julian. I served in the Marine Corps for 8 years. So prior to where I'm at now, I served in the Marine Corps.
Thank you for your service.
Right now I'm in education, and I'm also doing, thank you. And I'm also a grad student. So I'm doing my graduate program in special education. And that's where I'm at right now.
Nice. And so I posted the thing about Time, and, you know, I think I maybe posted my old article. I'm sweating, man. And you had told me something. Well, why don't you tell me what you told me? And this is the whole reason I decided to bring you on.
Well, it all started with having, well, pretty much return kind of like back to work seminars and just different talks, and how the term Latinx started being thrown around, which I don't think is the proper way, or just the way they were using it and the way they want to kind of implement it into this like education system, knowing that we do have a couple schools in our district that I would say are about 50% Latinos.
Now, I don't want to give away the district, but can we say what state, what city it's by?
Well, it's in Illinois, so it's one of the biggest districts in Illinois. So I'm pretty sure people, if they do their research, they'll find out. But we have a couple schools that primarily serve the Latino community.
Yeah.
So I don't think, first off, the way that they're using it or the way they want to bring it in, it correlates, or it even, I would say, the parents, the students.
Well, how do they want to bring it in? How do they? What do you mean? I think you said something about them mandating that the word Latinos, when referring to Latinos, will be changed to Latinx.
Well, yeah, they want to start pushing it where we're actually using Latinx versus Latino, Latina. So I don't think our student population actually even identifies with Latinx. One of my points is that it's hard enough for them to identify as either Latino, Hispanic. Most people know that Latinos identify by the country of origin.
Right.
For example, myself, I don't say I'm Latino or Hispanic. I say I'm Mexican.
Yeah, that says Club Tijuana, doesn't say Club Latinx on it.
Absolutely. So,
what state are you from? Are you from Baja California?
No, I was born in Durango. I did live in Baja California, so I lived in Tijuana for a little bit, and then so I go to Mexico, I would say anywhere between 5 to 6 times, 7 times a year.
Wow.
So I spend my summers off in Tijuana, and I've gotten to know the city, and I have fallen in love with Tijuana.
I heard it's gotten bad again. As far as the cartel violence.
Here or there, it goes up and down.
Yeah.
So, but then again, it's everywhere in Mexico.
Yeah, exactly.
But no, I think like in regards to going back to like the school district for which I work is like, I don't think our students identify with the term Latinx, and even they're already having a hard time.
Have you talked to students? Have you heard them talk about Latinx at all? Or
we haven't really gotten the opportunity to talk to them. And in one of the classes, we are talking about topics or just current events. And for example, Black Lives Matter got thrown in there, the looting, protesting, defunding the police. But those are obviously hot topics right now. So they are topics that we ask them to talk about, or if they want to know something more, then they can start doing some research, and we can also help them with them so they can identify or even learn more about it.
Mm-hmm.
So the whole Latin, yeah, well, no, we actually talked about DACA, but Latinx was not brought up.
But yeah, I mean, and people are going to say, oh, well, maybe, I hear this all the time. Somebody was telling me on Facebook, like, I told them I'm going to bring somebody, why do you care about Latinx? It's not being forced on anybody. It's not being forced on anybody. I said, one, as a writer, as somebody in media, it's being forced on me, right? I've written pieces where I use Latino, Latinas, Latinos, and my editor to BPC will change it. Won't even tell me, right? They'll publish it, and all the instances of Latinos will be changed to Latinx, or from Latino to be changed to Latinx. And, I mean, I don't really care, but it's annoying, especially when I think that the words don't have the power that people think that it does, right? They think they're getting rid of machismo and homophobia and transphobia by changing the O and A to an X, and it's silly, and then you're making me seem like I'm that's the thing that I don't like, right? You're making me seem like I'm adopting it, and I'm not, right? And I'm not. So why do you make me? That's like if you wrote Latinx, if somebody wrote Latinx and I'm an editor and I change it to Latinos. I don't do that. If you write Latinx on a submission, I leave it as is. Because if that's what the word you want to use, you leave it as is, right? That's not my business, right? I'm not going to I'm not going to edit your pieces for my own political reasons, right? Whatever terms you use is up to you. But it's not the other way around with these people. Like if I go to use Latinos, they're going to change to Latinx. And what I wanted to say is that, I was talking to somebody on Facebook, they're like, it's not being forced. It's not being forced. Like, well, I'm going to bring somebody on who's saying that it's an educator who said they're bringing, they're mandating it in their district. And they're like, well, that's just one district out of, see, they don't hear, right? You give them instances and they're like, oh, that's just one. That's just one. That's just one. like you said, you don't hear the kids in your school talking about it. My 16-year-old Mexican, pure Mexican stepdaughter has never even heard of the word Latinx, doesn't care about it, right? Now, people are going to hear that and say, yeah, of course, your daughter, you know, because you're against Latinx. So my daughter's, you know, my daughter's smart, right? Her tennis team has the highest GPA in the state of Nevada. That doesn't mean that she's, you know, woke or whatever, but she's not stupid, right? And so, I mean, why? What? So in these conversations, let's get back to these conversations, right? Are there conversations with staff, with administration, what are the talks? What are they saying about? Okay, we're going to start using Latinx. How do they bring it up?
Just when like directing conversation or directing points to the staff when we had like staff meetings, that instead of using Latino, Latina, they will bring up Latinx and to substitute it just the way you just mentioned it. It's like you could say Latino, Latina, and they substitute it with the X. So now it's a way of like pushing it or start implementing it where like it's kind of like if you use the A or the O, it's like frowned upon, or they just don't see it as.
Not even frowned upon. You're seen as like reactionary. You're seen as a Trump supporter. I mean, I don't know what your voting is, but you're seen as like somebody who's against LGBT rights, against women's rights. Like, and it's like, dude, we're talking about a vowel here, you know? And in 10 years, 20 years, you know, we went from Hispanic to Latino to now Latinx. In 20 years, it's going to be something else, right?
Well, it's funny how you bring up like LGBTQ, and I have a couple friends like, yes, they're gay, they're trans, they're lesbians, etc.
Right.
And
so
even like my trans friends, they identify as Latinas. They don't identify as the Latinx or however they want to word it. Like you see them on social media or their hashtags or whatever on Instagram, they put Latina. They identify as women, they put Latina. They don't put Latinx.
Yeah. No, and it's all the splitting hairs, like you just said, LGBTQ. I don't say LGBTQ. I say LGBT, right? That means everybody. That means whatever, you know, there's heteronormative, and I'm not heteronormative, right? I believe in polyamory. I'm non-heteronormative. Like I believe gender and sex is a spectrum. I mean, we know people, right, who are manly men, who are femme men, you know, manly women, femme women, you know. Oh, whatever you do is up to you. I don't care, right? But it's this whole splitting hairs, like, well, I'm the third Q in LGBTQQQQ. Like, dude, like there's bigger issues going on, right? Especially with the election, especially with climate. You know, we can go on and on, but like, you know, James Baldwin has this line. What does he say? He's weary of the emphasis on vocabulary, right? Somebody yelled at him at one time, you know, why do you call yourself Negro? Why do you call you? He's a Jamaican guy. Why do you call yourself Negro? There's no country called Negro. You know that? You're a black man. And he goes, I call myself Negro because that's the vocabulary that I know. Do you think that because Negro, the word Negro offends you, that a whole nation is going to change its vocabulary, right? And again, he said, like, you know, my grandma, I had a grandmother. This is what he said. I had a grandmother who called herself a nigger. She called herself a nigger, right? And not in a derogatory way, just called herself a nigger. That's how she identified. And it didn't stop her from, you know, raising her kids, living a dignified life, living with self-respect and dignity, right? Because the word you use to label yourself, that's not who you are. You're not that label, right? Yes. And so that's, I think, what we're, you know, we haven't argued that, our side, but that's what we're arguing. Like this whole X, you're not the X, you're not the O, you're not the A, you're not Latino, you're not, you know, whatever, you know. Yes, you can describe yourself as certain things, but that's not who you are. You're deeper than that. You're more than that, right?
Yeah, I think, like you said, that the terminology or the way you identify yourself, it comes down to the government. Even the government is trying to segregate us or put us in a group. And
we're falling for it.
Well, absolutely. So just the labels, it's a way of segregating us and separating us.
Yeah.
And if you go back to when the census, for example, Latino, Hispanic, all these things, these were ways of like of the census keeping tabs on everybody. And they're like, well, we're not going to put Mexicans, Hondurans, Salvadorans, whatever. We're not going to have a category for all of them. So now let's just group them in Latino or Hispanic based on whatever qualifications they do. And now we forward to where we're at now. And like you said, your article was written 2015, 5 years ago. Yeah. Now we start seeing Latinx. So
it's only gone up. According to that Pew poll, it was when I wrote that article, 2% of Latinos identified as Latinx. So now it's 5 years later, and now 3%. So it's only 1% in 5 years. And these past 5 years have been quote unquote woke, right? There's been a woke revolution. And if it's only moved up 1%, that's showing you that not that people, don't agree with the idea behind Latinx, right? We agree with the idea behind Latinx, right? That maybe the word Latino, Latina is there's more to it than that, right? But when I say Latinos, I mean every Latinos, man, woman, whatever you're into. I mean everybody. And it's them. They're narrow-minded. To them, Latino is a man. Is a straight man, right? And it's funny how we're being called closed-minded, and we're fighting against them because they're narrow. Because no, it's the O. The O means this, and the A means that, and the X means this. Bro, relax. What are some of the debates that maybe staff and administration are having? Like what are certain people saying? Like, are you the only one? Does anybody speak up? Because it's hard to speak up, right? When you're like, whoa, what's this Latinx business? Because you don't want to get that stare, right?
Well, I think more of like people ask themselves like, what's Latinx? Or a couple coworkers have talked about like, what does that mean? Or students, I have heard some students like, what is it? So that's where you kind of like, you have to like.
Can I take a test to see if I have it?
I think it's better for us to like, even educate them. Like you have to actually educate them and like allow them to understand or even explore.
Yeah.
To get a better understanding of what these terminology or what the term is. And like I said, like you just brought up, it's like 3% identify or use it. So
and only 23% of Latinos have ever heard of it. So that means 77% of Latinos have never heard of that word. Never mind in Latin America, right? They're thinking like, you guys are ridiculous for calling yourself Latino.
Well, even I when I go to Mexico, when I first started going more, I used the term Latino, and they looked at me like I was crazy. Like, what is that? They don't even know what a Latino is. They identify Mexican, or I'm from Baja California, Tijuanense, from Durango, Oaxaca, whatever. That's what they identify as. They don't see as Latinos. Or now you talk about to like people in Central America, they don't see themselves as that. They just, I'm from Honduras. I'm from El Salvador.
Yeah. I mean, I was talking to, I had a guy on last week from Chile, and I was telling him like, yeah, we're the only people who do that, Latinos. Like, we'll leave Mexico, we'll leave Honduras, we'll go to America, right? And we leave, when we go to America, we're Honduran, we're Mexican, we're from Durango, But when we go to the United States, as soon as we're in the United States, now we're Latino. We're this thing called Latino. When did that happen, right? Like, you're the same person. You're just in a different place. And if you can't see that, then America's got you fucked up, right? It's separating you from who you are. You're from where you're from. You're not some new thing that the government, that the people here are deciding that this, no, you're not Latin American anymore. You're Latino now. The fuck is that?
Yeah, no, I agree with you in regards to that. It's like the moment you cross the border, now you're somebody completely different.
And he said he teaches English at the University of Chile, and he said, it's probably because you're trying to assimilate, right? And so you don't want to be Latin American. It's hard to be Latin American in America. It's hard to be Mexican in America. So you say, oh, no, we're this thing called Latino, which is American. It's from here. Latinos are from America. Latinos are not from Latin America, right? There are no Latinos in Latin America. There are only Latinos in the United States. And so we adopt that to try to fit in, to assimilate. It's sad, and people know that I know about identity politics. I'm not down with identity politics, but the nature of my job, I have to know what are the debates and stuff like that. And so every time there's a census, it happened 10 years ago, it's happening now, people will come up to me people, my friends and family, and they say, hey, what do I put down? Am I white? Am I Hispanic? Am I? Yeah. And I go, well, you're probably you're probably Native American. You're probably white. And they're like, I'm Native American. Like, and it'll be an India talking to me, right? From Mexico, from Juarez. I'm like, yeah, you're fucking Native American. What do you think that brown skin comes from, dude? But again, like, imagine filling out the census and you're being given all these identities and you're like, well, I don't know what you are. I don't know what I am. That means that you actually know who you are, and then the census comes around or somebody asks you to self-identify and they give you these labels that you don't use for yourself. So don't use them. If you don't identify as those labels, then they're not your labels.
That, or just even like when you go apply for certain jobs, even just like jobs or admissions to universities. I think that's something that a lot of students are facing nowadays, or just applying for scholarships. You have to identify. Are you Latino, Latina? Are you African American? Are you whatever the case is? And like, it's something that, yes, it could work in your advantage, because now they're like, well, the school has to meet a quota where they have to admit certain minorities so they can't discriminate. So now they're like, well, let me check Latino, or let me check African American.
Yeah.
So yes, it's going to increase the chances of somebody getting into these institutions, but it's like, you shouldn't have to go through that trouble of like trying to identify with something that you don't even know sometimes. Like,
yeah, it's elitist. Latinx is elitist. It is, because you mean to say that we can't use Latinos anymore because 3% identify as Latinx. And so now Latinos you can't use that word anymore because now you're excluding the 3% that identifies as Latinx. Again, if we need to reiterate, when I say Latinos, I'm including those people who identify as Latinx. I'm including everybody, whatever their gender, whatever their sex, whatever their non-gender, whatever their binary, whatever your politics, whatever. And so that, yeah, they want the 97% to change their language, to change their labels to fit the 3%, right? And if we don't do that, then we're homophobic. Then we're transphobic. Then we're against women. Then we're against progress. Like, it's we're both from Wheeling. I gave it away. We're both from Wheeling, and we know the mean streets of Wheeling, right? And we know people try to punk you, dude, right? People try to punk you. Like, there's always people try to play you, right? And I'm not saying that every person who's pushing Latinx is trying to do that. Some people really believe in it, but there's people who are they just want you to say what they want you to say, do what they they might say that I'm doing the same thing, but no, we've been using Latino forever, right? I've been using this. You came and brought this word, and now are forcing it that I have to use it.
I think the people that are identifying with Latinx is not the first generation, is not the second generation. It's the third, fourth generation in the U.S. that are identifying.
Oh, really? What makes you say that?
Well, I said, like, people that are my age or a little bit older than me, which is mainly the first generation. None of them have heard it. Now you start looking at the younger crowds at like the 19, 18, 19-year-olds at actual universities. Those are the ones identifying because their grandpa and then their parents and so like grew up in the U.S. So now they're the third or the fourth generation. Those are the ones that are trying to push it, I think. And then also, like, if they're hearing it, it's coming from the academic institutions, which goes back to your point that you said a professor reached out to you. They wanted to push it. They want to start using it more in like academic settings.
Right.
So if they're getting it from somewhere, that's where it's starting. That's where I think the root is from. Like, because people our age, maybe 10, 15 years older than us, they're not identifying with it.
Yeah. And let's be real about academia, right? I got friends who are professors, good friends, and they're good people, and they're smart, sane, and they're not into this. They're clear-headed. But the way academia works is that you have to come up with something new to make a career, to put your name, to build your career, right? And if you're the Latinx professor that's pushing Latinx and you're writing books on it, that's your career. That might mean tenure, right? That might mean, raises and promotions and stuff like that, right? And so they're not going to give up on Latinx. They can't. It's their career, right? It's their academic career. But anyways, I mean, again, only 3% of people use it. Only 23% of Latinos use it. So this is a very esoteric discussion that we're having, right? So, another reason I wanted to bring you on is because, you're a Marine, right? I've had my brother on, Marine. Where were you stationed? Where were you deployed? Where were you stationed? Where were you deployed?
Well, I was in the Marine Corps from 2004 to 2012, and I was stationed at Camp Pendleton and MCRD San Diego. So I was with 2nd Battalion, 1st Marines, 2nd Battalion, 5th Marines, and then headquarters and service battalion at MCRD San Diego.
So you left. So you enlisted right after high school, right? What made you go?
Yeah, about a year after.
About a year after, right?
It took about 6 months to actually ship out, everything like that. But pretty much, I got the pep talk from my dad, and he's like, "Hey, we got to pay bills in this house. We have some money, not a lot of money for you to go to college. We can make it work." And at that point, I looked deep down in me, and it's like, you know what? I'm like, I don't want to be a burden.
Yeah.
So I know I can do more, and that's when I decided to enlist in the Marine Corps, and off I went to California.
Would you say that's a common reason that you found in the Marine Corps? That there's some people who, they're trying to do right by their families.
Yeah,
trying to do right by their future too, right?
I think a lot of it is when it comes to, I would say, Latinos in the Marine Corps, just we all kind of have the similar background, and just like I said, 1st or 2nd generation here. So we're all trying to better ourselves, and now the country that adopted us or gave some to our parents, now we're giving back. And in our generation, or at least in my generation, it's like a lot of it was like the post 9/11. 9/11 happened, so we all had we felt patriotic. We wanted to join and give back. So with that, it's like, I did go to Iraq. I was in Iraq. I've been all over the world. So I ended up doing 3 deployments. I was in Iraq, and then just I went overseas to Okinawa, Japan, and from there I went to other places.
How was Okinawa, man? My brother wanted to go to Okinawa.
To be stationed there, I don't know. Like, to me, going from California, it wasn't the best, but just because I was so used to the freedom. But people that get stationed there, they get to experience it differently. So some of them fall in love with Okinawa, others hate it. And to me, I think I enjoyed it just because of the fact that I was something new. I got to live in a different country, and then I got to go to different countries from there. So that was the plus side. And other Marines get to only see combat. And to me, it's like I got to see both sides of the Marine Corps. Like, I got to see the combat. I got to go travel to all these other countries and enjoy the world.
Yeah, I mean, that's been one of the reasons since, the last 100 years, right? Join the Army to go see the world, right? I mean, that's kind of what they tell you, right? When they're recruiting you, go see the world. Go see the world. I remember somebody in my class, and I won't say who, but we know him. He lives in Dunhurst. And the Army recruiter came to his house, and he has 5 or 7 siblings, right? And the recruiter tells him, he's the oldest. And he goes, the recruiter looks around at his family, and he's Mexican. And the recruiter goes, you want to go to college? Your mom's not going to be able to afford college. Look, she's got 5 kids, right? Go to the Army. Go to the Army. And it's good. The other reason that you said, the thing that I picked up on is that, this country gave us, as immigrants, this country gave us a space, right? We could be back in Mexico. We could be back in Honduras. We could be back in Puerto Rico eating shit. And we're here. Whatever, we're eating shit here too. But we have an opportunity to eat less shit and to make something that we can't do in Mexico or we can't do in Honduras. And that's real, right? That's like I didn't join the Marines or the military. If I would have done the military, I would have done the Marines. My brother was trying to recruit me for the longest time. He's like, take the test, man. Just take the test. Let's see how you do. I bet you do really good, man. I bet you, he's gassing me out, right? And I wish, I still regret, every day I regret, there'll be a time where I'm like, man, I should have, you look back and you're like, should I have made that left turn instead of going right? Because I think as a Marine, you got to, especially as a first generation Latino, you got to feel like, man, I gave to this country, right? You can't tell me I don't belong here, right? Because now, you hear these politics where Latinos or they don't belong. You must walk around like, I see the flag back there. You must feel like Motherfucker, I belong here more than anybody. I belong here more than the president of the United States.
Yeah, no, I think like I told you earlier, it's just the fact that a lot of us in the military, like, or at least in the Marine Corps, from what I got to experience, is we do feel that as we get out and we walk around with our like veteran hats or Marine Corps shirts or some type of patriotic item that we always carry or having like even in our vehicles or as a display. So we do feel connected. We do feel that, hey, we do belong here. And obviously we're trying to better our situation for those after us. Like, I don't have kids, but now that I did this, like, it's something that I can talk to my kids about.
Yeah.
It's something that I can talk to the students that I work with. It's something that I can talk to about with the kids that I coach in soccer. Like, these are all things that I can now start applying, especially to the minorities or the students that their families struggled. Their parents work 2-3 jobs. So it's an out, and it's something that they can experience. And I always tell people, like, honestly, I don't care what branch you join, as long as you join something and you build it and make it the way you want it to be. So we all have that opportunity. And it's like we always preach in the Marine Corps, like, it's something bigger than ourselves. So to me, like, I found that brotherhood in the Marine Corps. Like, I found other Latinos right off the back in boot camp, in infantry school. In my unit, it was nothing but, like, we had our little clique, and we even joke around, like, we say USMC, Unidos somos muy chingones.
That's good, man.
So
did you guys make that up, or is that a thing that's in the Marines that circles around?
It circles around. So we have that one, and we also have United States Mexican Cavalry. so we have it, man. Like,
yeah.
But even overseas, we go overseas. Somebody always somehow finds a flag from like Puerto Rico or Mexico or whatever country, and we all take a picture with it. Even when in Okinawa, there was a club called Salsadinas. So all Latinos went there.
Yeah,
so it was all Peruvian, that was Japanese. And so Latin music, that's the thing that made us feel at home. So we always find each other. Did
you watch, there's this documentary series on Netflix called Immigration Nation. It's a couple episodes.
I started watching it. I probably watched about 30 minutes of it.
Well, I mean, it's a couple episodes. I think the last episode has a Marine on there, undocumented Marine. And he lives in Vegas. He's from, anyways, he got deported. As he went to the Marines, came out.
Yes.
You know, he's a hardcore Marine. He's got the USMC on his knuckles and everything, right? Proud Marine. And he got deported afterwards. And, you know, at the border, when he's crossing, the Border Patrol or the Mexican Border Patrol sees his tattoos, his Marine Corps tattoos, and he goes, man, I feel sorry for you guys. And at that moment, that's when he realizes, oh, man, there's a bunch of Marines. There's a bunch of military men. I think something like 1,000 that's been deported. And
yes,
so...
in regards to that topic, in Tijuana, in Baja California, there actually is a house for deported veterans. So they have one in Baja California, and they also have one in Juarez. So
you know what they're called?
It happens a lot. Like, it happens more than what people think. Do I agree with it? Honestly, I don't agree with it. In a way, it falls on the service member, to be honest. So part of my job for like 2.5 years in the Marine Corps, I worked in the legal department. So I worked with lawyers. I worked as a paralegal, and we did.
Oh, really?
Help, we did help service members apply for citizenship. So there's actually a law that the moment that they graduate boot camp, regardless of branch, after 9/11, you automatically qualify for citizenship. So that disclosure is, yes, you do qualify for citizenship. However, you have to do the work. You have to go to your base legal. You have to reach out. You have to do the paperwork in order to become a citizen. So in this situation, a lot of them are just residents. So they're not citizens, they're residents. Obviously, they're trying to get their citizenship. So a lot of them think that automatically, because they finish boot camp, they become citizens. That's a lie. So they go about their business. They do their 4 years, 8 years, whatever time they do. They get out, and now some of them obviously post-traumatic stress disorder, or whatever's going on in their lives, and their residency is expired, and they commit a crime. So now they get deported. Thinking
I think
they
the guy
are good,
I think the undocumented immigrant, the undocumented Marine, I think he got caught like with something like 5 pounds of marijuana in New Mexico, and he pled guilty but didn't go to jail. But if you plead guilty and you're undocumented, you're automatically put on a deportation list. But he didn't know that, and so I guess he went to Costa Rica, and then when he came back at the border, like, no, you're not supposed to come back in, and that's how he got deported. But it's tough because I see, like, again, if you're a service member, you've earned your keep, you've earned your space here more than most of us. So it's tough, man.
Yeah, no, I think in regards to that and just like policymakers, if service members have to face that in like court or whatever, yes, they did mess up. Do they belong here? Yes, they do belong here. I think they can make an exemption and like at least process them to get their citizenship, do their time. Like if they need to do their time in jail, then they're going to do their time in jail.
Yeah.
And I guarantee you that a lot of these service members rather do that than to get deported.
For sure. Because I think he had to spend like a week crossing the desert in Arizona, walking through the desert.
Yeah.
And so that's
very true.
No, go ahead.
And in regards to that, sorry to cut you off, but I think when people talk about like the immigration or like the deported veterans, like they just focus on Mexicans. It's not just Mexicans.
Oh,
you can
You're
go
talking
on
to Honduran
YouTube,
here.
Facebook. It happens like Haitians, Jamaicans, Central America, South
Europeans.
America. Like,
I know Polish undocumented people. I know Russian undocumented people. You know.
Yeah, and like I said, in regards to like that for like the veterans, yes, like it sucks. I support it. Like I said, they have the housing in Tijuana. They have the housing in Baja California. In Juarez. And not too long ago, an Army veteran actually won the case where he did get his citizenship, and he was not receiving any benefits through like the Veterans Association or administration, and now he got back pay, took all that money, bought land in Tecate for veterans to live there now.
That's how you do it, man. That's how you do it. You create wealth, man. That's the other thing, like, I don't know. I was just reading something about this is off topic, but the NBA, they have these like Black Lives Matter under jerseys and stuff like that. But one's called, what is it called? Group economics, right? And the idea of group economics is that Latinos, Black people, we got to pool our money. Instead of spending it and giving it to the system, giving it back to the system, pool our money, start Latino businesses. Support Latino businesses. Keep it in the community, right? And that's how you build not only wealth, because, that's important, but money is power. And if Latinos want political power, they need economic power. And so it's called group economics.
Absolutely. And going back to like our childhood, for example, we grew up with so many people that have gotten out of the hood, out of the system, whatever.
Isn't that weird? Do you think that's weird, isn't it?
And it is. It really is. But the things I will say this, and like, even like I would say to a point, I am at fault for that. Like, but we don't go back to where we grew up and give back. And Latinos, like the moment that we make it, we don't go back. We don't look back and go and give to where we grew up or where we came from. For example, we'll take Piper, such a big community. Why is Piper continuously still the same way that it was 20 years ago?
Yeah, and people have gotten on Piper and they're now doing great. They're now doing amazing.
So I think a lot of us, we have to go back and like create something for that community in order for it to like prosper and like people to see bigger and better things. Like there are bigger and better things outside of Prospect or Piper.
Yeah.
You see planes in and out every day.
Yeah.
They fly over you. So why can't people from there get on that plane and go see somewhere else?
Two things about that. One, that's exactly what T.I. and Killer Mike are talking about. They're like, they're rich now, right? And they went back to Atlanta. They went back to their old hood. They're opening up car washes, grocery stores, yada, 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 right? Bring it back. And you know, that's true, right? Like me, you know, I was born in Humboldt Park. Maybe I should go back to Humboldt Park, right? Not give it to the gentrifiers, or go back to Wheeling, not give it, you know, not keep it. Because there's kids like us still there now, hopeless, just as hopeless as we were, and thinking, how am I going to get out of here? And if we had seen somebody come back and be like, hey, you know, I'm this, this, and this, you can do it too. I'm going to start a business here. That's, you know, that's what we should do. And I mean, that's what we should do. I feel it just gave me a fucking stab in the heart, because that's what we should do. But two, you know, then take that idea further. We're not from here. You know, we're first generation, second generation, third generation. Then are we supposed to go back to Mexico and go back to Honduras, go back to Puerto Rico? Because you know, our families left those places because they're just like Piper, but a country. Yeah. You know, so should we go back to Mexico and take our money, take our skills, take our talent that we've gained here in the United States, and go back and lift up our countries, our home countries, our patrias?
Well, I think now, like, just from someone that has been going back to Mexico a lot, and just in December, I traveled all the way from northern Mexico all the way down to south. So I went from Chihuahua all the way to Michoacan. And just going through every state, towns that I visit, I think more and more people are leaving, like, the ranchos or the rural areas for the city. And Mexico is progressively changing a lot. And when people talk about opportunities, I think those people are starting to see it, because now we have more relatives in the United States, or we were able to send money back. So now they're getting out of those situations where certain people can actually start moving to the cities, and their kids can start going to schools, universities. So when people, like, I talk about Mexico, it's just like somehow they still have that image in their mind. The rancho. And it's not like that. It's definitely not like that. You go to a border town like Tijuana, it's just like it's bicultural. Is there poverty? Yes, there's poverty, but
there's poverty in Chicago, you know?
Absolutely. But I'm saying, like, a lot of people somehow make it. Somehow you talk to people, they're like, oh, tengo licenciatura in this, or I have a degree in this, I have whatever. But yeah, it's like they make it. Eventually they make it. And it just takes a little bit to give back, and then you get out of that situation.
Yeah. No, there's a meme on Instagram where it says, you know, Mexico in all the movies, and they show like adobe houses with no fucking door, no window. And then it says Mexico in real life, and it's a picture of Mexico City, and it's like a fucking modern city. Glass and steel buildings. You know, one of the fanciest malls I've ever been to is right on the border in Juarez. It's a fancy-ass mall, Gucci and Louis Vuitton and everything like that. That's in Juarez.
No, absolutely. I completely agree with you. You go to Mexico City, you go to Guadalajara, Zapopan.
I want to go to Guadalajara, man. That looks beautiful there.
You see all these stores. You see Gucci, Prada, Louis, everything. So it's there.
For a while, the richest man in the world, Carlos Slim, was a Mexican.
Yes.
You know, again, you know, the woke people call it changing the narrative, but, you know, I call it that, you know, people just don't know. You know, not even Mexicans know, who haven't been to Mexico in a while. They think that maybe it's the Mexico that they remember when they were kids. But even Mexico's changed in the last 20 years, right? Last 10 years, right? It's crazy. The third topic, this is nice. This is like the most organized conversation I've had. You know, we're having a great conversation. It's organized. Guns. Yep. You want to get into this guns thing?
I'm not against it. I think, obviously, everybody should, if they want to own one, and go for it. If they're against it.
You own guns?
I do. I have one pistol. So I have a pistol. It's a 9mm. Obviously, I think in regards to guns, people should have the proper training. And if you push the narrative or just the view that they're so bad, then people are going to believe that. But if you back in the day, they used to teach kids how to properly use guns.
Yeah.
And you didn't see a lot of like the mass shootings, or you didn't see
drive-bys and stuff like that.
drive-bys, or just the random shootings that are happening, for example, in the city of Chicago.
Yeah, the 3-year-old girl gets hit. You know, the person that they're shooting at walks away without a bullet, but yet, you know, the 3-year-old girl gets hit, you know, 5 times.
Yeah, and it's to me that's sad. Obviously, like, that should not be happening in our own backyards. So leave that for war. Leave that for situations like that. It should not be happening in our, like I said, in our own backyards. A couple years ago, there was a statistic about deaths in Chicago. The murder rate that year was bigger than the 8 years of the war in Iraq in 1 year alone. So
it's a war. There's a war in Chicago. There's a war in Chicago.
And we know where it's coming from. We know where it's brewing. Obviously, it's all about the power. Like I like to see it as the government or like the police agencies. I'll just be clarified. I'm not against police power, but they want to take out the snake's head. That's not the problem. You gotta start sweeping it from the bottom to clean it in order to better that community. You take out that head, more people want to go in there, and they want to be the one in charge. So the moment everybody's fighting for power, that's why you get what's happening in Chicago.
Well, let me argue against that a little bit. You know, play devil's advocate. One, you know, the drugs in Chicago. I think the Sinaloa cartel controls the drug trade in Chicago.
Yes.
And so it's big, it's huge, right? There's a big network going on there. And just like in Mexico, just like in Honduras, just like in anywhere where there's poor people who have, right, some of us, you know, we come from poor places, and through luck, through willpower, through fucking stubbornness, I'm not going to be a statistic, I'm not going to be a fucking another ganguero, we get out. But a lot of people don't make that choice, right? For whatever reason. You know, maybe they're not as smart as us. Maybe they don't have the parents or the family or the experiences that we have. And they, you know, somebody says, hey, man, you know, I'm working at fucking McDonald's, but hey, I can give you fucking this pound of this little bit of Coke. You chop it up, make some crack, and you can be making $5,000 a month, right? I wouldn't do that. But a lot of people do, right? A lot of people are desperate. And so I agree, right? You got to clean out. For me, I would say you have to give people opportunity. You have to give people education. You have to lift those communities up, right? And I think Tupac said it in that one song, right? Give the thugs, give them guns, step back, and watch them kill each other, right? That's what he said, and that's exactly what it is, right? Because if you know, we're talking about the South Side and West Side of Chicago, we're talking about Piper Lane, we're talking about Boxwood, we're talking about Lollipop, right? If that shit was happening at Lake Arlington or Lincoln Park, or, you know, no. They're going to fucking spend $100 million, you know, on a new school and everything, blah, blah, blah. But they don't do that in the South Side, right? They say, oh, you know, it's another nigga dead, another spick dead, you know, whatever. You know, that's why we don't want them here anyway. So it's, I mean, but let me just say this, you know, I grew up against guns. And I think that's because I was raised first in the city, right? And I think city people, guns are, especially in Chicago, guns are things that criminals have and police have. So if you have a gun, you're either a police officer or a criminal. There's that stigma. And I had that for a while, man. I had that into my 20s, that idea, right? The Second Amendment, we don't need guns. And now I realize that's all bullshit. Like, you know, I have a right to have a gun. Of course I have a right to have a gun. Not only do I have a right to have a gun, I'm stupid if I don't have a gun, right? If you have a right, it's like having the right to vote and not voting. The right to have a gun, you have a right to have a gun. So if you don't own a gun, you're just, that Second Amendment, I don't need it. You can take it back. I don't need it. Everybody needs it. Everybody needs it, right? And so I know I'm not supposed to say that I don't have a gun, and I don't. But I mean, me and my wife have been talking about it, right? We're gonna make a date of it. Go down to the shooting range, get one of those packages where we get to shoot all those different guns and see which one we like. I would get a pistol, right? I'd get a Glock. You know, my cousin's a cop, and he said, get a Glock. It never fails. Right, if you do get a gun, you have to be responsible with it, right? You have to clean it. You have to go to the shooting range regularly to know that you know how to fire that weapon, not just have it, you know, dusty and like, you know, so in the middle of the night, you know, your fucking crusty ass eye, you know, you're more likely to kill somebody else in your family and not kill the robber. So yeah, I mean, I want, you know, talk about the importance of especially Latinos, Latinos from working class backgrounds who maybe we have the stigma against guns, especially in the United States. I mean, what is your view on like gun ownership?
I think in regards to gun ownership and Latinos and immigrants, a lot of it, we all come from. If I'll talk from my experience in Durango. Yeah. We all in the ranchos, you have guns. Everybody has one. You go to the party or whenever there's a wedding or whatever the case is, people are carrying guns. That's a norm. But you don't see people just walking around, gunslinging, firing into the air. And we know the importance of having one because we use them in situations that it like you have to use it. Like you don't just take it out and like start clowning with it. Same thing with now, like myself, prior military, I own one. I don't walk around. I don't carry it. I just don't like be like, oh, here, let me show it off. Like, no, like you have to know what you're doing with it. And it's something so powerful. A lot of immigrants or people that are here in the country undocumented and want one, like they're not able to because the government puts a lot of like, you have to register this. In Illinois, you have to have a FOID card. Other states, you need to have your driver's license or whatever the case is. Colorado, you just show up with state ID. You can purchase one and walk out like an hour, 2 hours later. You walk out with a gun or a rifle, whatever the case is. But I think if people have the proper training or there's not so many loopholes to jump through, people will legitimately buy them or own them. And a lot of the guns or the crimes that are being committed are by guns that are not circulating or are not registered legally.
Yeah. A lot of the guns in Chicago are not from Chicago, right? They're from out of state. They're from Indiana, right?
There are a lot of them flow in from Indiana, and you can cross the border into Indiana and just buy one.
Yeah. Because that's, you know, people have that argument. Chicago has the toughest gun laws, and they have all this gun crime. Yeah, because it doesn't, you know, it's like back in the day, you know, all the states have different ages for drinking, right? And so I think Chicago had 21, and then Wisconsin had 18. And what people would do is go up to Wisconsin, get fucking hammered, and come down, 94, and having fucking accidents, you know, drunk driving, and they're 19, you know, and so it has to, you know, that's what. And then so the president, I think Jimmy Carter or somebody was like, or Ford was like, I'm not going to tell you what age to have your drinking age at, but, you know, I might not give you as much funding if you don't raise it to 21, which is smart. I mean, you know, that's what the government's supposed to do, flex its fucking muscle, right? Don't make people do stuff, but, you know, you got muscle, flex it, right? And that's what they need to do with gun laws. We need to have uniform gun laws, especially in around cities, right? I get that Montana, again, like you're saying, like in Mexico, in Honduras, right? You carry a gun in Honduras, especially in the rural parts, not because you're worried about a robber. You're worried about a fucking whatever's in the jungle, whatever in the fucking bosque, right? In a cerro, right? You might come up in a snake or whatever, so you always have a gun on you. So yeah, different places have different gun cultures for different reasons, but I mean, yeah, there needs to be uniformity. There needs to be sensible gun laws. Let me ask you last question. I mean, we've gotten to know you, you know, Marine, educator. We've gotten to what do you think about what's going on, man, with COVID, with the election? What's going on?
In regards to COVID, I just like before we were offline, I think people are so over it now. I get it. It's real. I do know it's real. A cousin of mine had it. An uncle of mine had it too. So I know it's real.
They survived.
Yes, they both made it. My uncle's in recovery right now, so he's still dealing with some of the effects of it.
Well, a lot of people think it's not real. That's crazy. I get that. I don't want to wear. So a lot of people don't think it's real. Like millions of people, tens of millions of people don't think it's real.
Yeah, no, it's definitely real. And like I said, I've seen the effects firsthand. He's dealing with. He has to have a speech pathologist now, so he works with the speech path.
Wow.
He's doing physical therapies. He lost a lot of weight, muscle, everything. So he's learning how to walk again, how to talk. feeding tube, all that. So that like I said, it's real.
It wasn't the flu. It wasn't the flu.
No, but I think like if we all do our part in regards to like wearing your mask when you're in certain places or certain things, like taking the precaution, I think we would be fine. And if you look at Europe or these other countries where it all started first, like they're doing so much better than us in the U.S. In the U.S., it's like they tell you not to do it, we're gonna go and do it.
Yeah.
So it's like the complete opposite.
Yeah.
So.
Or look at China, man. It started in China. We're over here blaming China. Meanwhile, China's over it, right? Their economy's back. They're going out. I get that it came from China, right? It started in China, but hey, once it came here, it was our responsibility. Who cares where it came from? It's our responsibility to deal with it, But go ahead. I think
people like blame, like we don't get anything from blaming the president or blaming the government.
Nope.
Like. Yes, if they didn't tell us, okay, it is on them, but we can do our part when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Like we can wear a mask, we can do this, we can do that. And also like, I just think the small businesses are the ones that are being hurt right now. And it's just like, COVID is not just at the door. It's not just when you sit or when you get up and you go to the bathroom, it's everywhere. So we have to do our part. And if you know you're sick, stay home.
People just don't have personal responsibility anymore. They have no sense of taking care. Like, if you're in Puerto Rico, if you're, after Katrina, after all these things, stop relying on the government to take care of you. The government is not taking care of you, right? You have to take care of yourself. I know you want the government to take care of you, but it's not. Take care of yourself.
You can't make a career of living off the government. That's what it comes down to. And yes, there's government assistance, there's all these programs that are there, but it's a step to better your situation. It's not to live off it or to be there for an entire lifetime. Yeah. Also,
I've never I don't make any money, right? I'm just doing this fucking media thing, living out my dream. I've never, and people always tell me like, you're a citizen, you should take unemployment. I would never take unemployment, right? Because I don't need it. Right? Is it? I can just be. I was telling somebody this the other day. Just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do it.
Yeah.
Right? Just because I can't. And you meet. And I don't want to call anybody out, but you'll meet people who are like, they're making $3,000 a month, getting $3,000 a month for disability, and they tell you, and you look at them like, "What's your disability? I don't understand." Like, I've been talking to you for 10 minutes. I didn't know anything was wrong with you.
Yeah. No, that's very true. And like, I think in regards to like the disability, especially for veterans, like you can look at a veteran like myself or like other veterans like me. It's like, we look good on the outside, but a lot of them deal with it mentally. So like post-traumatic stress disorder, TBI, all these things, like those are very real. And I think everybody shows it or has it differently. So sometimes like you look at them and like, well, why does he have disabled veteran plates? Or why does he have a handicap placard? Like, there's nothing wrong with them. And people at the stores get pissed off because they're parking in a handicapped parking space. Yeah. Like, they don't know their situation.
Yeah. No, it's true. I mean, it's the mental health thing is, it's huge. And we really need to, I think, our healthcare system really is to blame for that, right? That we don't, as soon as you're sick, as soon as anything is wrong with you, that's when they don't want to give you insurance, which makes no fucking sense at all. I mean, what do you think about the election? I mean, I think I'm actually going to write an article I just came to me when I was taking a shower. I'm going to write an article this weekend saying Trump's going to win. I think Trump's going to win.
As much as I hate to say it too, like obviously I'm going to say it. I'm not a Trump supporter. I like to see things from both sides.
What do you think the military, how do you think it breaks down as part of Trump support? Do you think a lot of military people are Trump supporters, Latino military people?
I think the military is pro-Trump. I think a lot of it is pro-Trump, and there's a lot of Latinos there.
Or he's seen as strong.
That and just, I think a lot of military leans right, to be honest. So we tend to support that side more.
Yeah.
And not only that, but he's also the commander in chief.
Right.
So that's your chain of command. So you have to go with it.
Which is kind of, I mean, I get why he's
out, then you
and the only reason the president is the commander in chief is because the first president was George Washington, who really was the commander-in-chief, right? And he really deserved respect from soldiers. But somebody like George Bush, somebody even like Obama, somebody like Bill Clinton, somebody like Trump, if you're a soldier, if you're a Marine, these people are the complete opposite of military ethos and ethics and morality and valor. You know, Trump didn't go to the Vietnam War because supposedly he had bone spurs, right? I mean,
yeah, he obviously dodged it, whatever the case is. So, but I think like in military, at least from people that I know, a lot of it, and a lot of them are from Texas in the Marine Corps. So a lot of them do lean right. So I honestly, I think Trump is probably going to win again. I'll say it now. I called it the first time around.
I called it first. Look it up, July 2016 for Gosamos. I wrote a piece called "Trump Will Win." I'm going to title this piece "Trump Will Win Again" because I titled that one "Trump Will Win." But I called it in July 2016 that he's going to win, because this time I'm saying it because nobody's excited for Biden. Nobody's excited for Harris. People are excited. Even Latinos are excited for Trump. Like 20% or 20-something% are excited for Trump.
Yeah, and I honestly, like I said, I think he's going to win. Yes, I don't agree with a lot of the things he says, or he speaks before he thinks about it. And I don't like that. But could he possibly be the one changing it for DACA? Yes, I think he can make that change. And I think if he does make that change, then he would get that vote. And right now, the way DACA is, like, not too long ago, they passed what was the thing that they passed? Like a lot of DACA recipients saw it as a victory. Like, yes, it is a victory because you're able to stay in the country and still be here, like, under protection, but you're just paying money to stay here and not really get a result from it. The result is to get your residency, to get your citizenship. Like, that's what we need. We just can't have you be here and, like, be part of it. And, like, if they decide to, like, tomorrow be done with it, like, now what?
That's what I said when Obama passed DACA, right? Everybody's like, oh, thank you, Obama. You know, first of all, he did it right before his election. He's right in 2012. Right before the re-election, he did it. But everybody's like, oh, Obama's the greatest. One, the Obama deported more people than any president, even Trump. Let's get that out of there.
Yeah.
You know, Trump has built, like, what, a bit of a wall. Bill Clinton built a lot of wall in the 90s. That whole wall along Tijuana and San Diego was built by Bill Clinton. You know, the detention centers where families are being held and kids are being held, Obama built those. And so when he passed DACA, I'm like, again, like you're saying, it's an executive order. The next president could just sign it away. He didn't give you anything. He gave you a fucking crumb.
Yeah. But a lot of people see it as a victory, and, like, I get it. Yes, they're protected. Like I said, they're protected. They feel more safe, but they're still scared. That could end at any time. My whole thing with DACA is, like, we need to make it better for them to be here as residents and eventually get their citizenship.
Yeah. Everybody wants to contribute to help everybody, immigrant, citizen, wherever you're from. Give them empower them to be contributing to the society, contributing to the greatness of America, right? Why handicap people? Why keep people one arm behind their back? Give everybody the power to contribute, to lift this country up.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest scares are just from, like, I have a relative that is a DACA recipient.
I have one too.
He's scared to go to Mexico. Like, if you're under protection, why are you scared? Why should you feel scared?
Well, he should, right? Because I don't think DACA allows, because DACA just means we're not going to deport you, right? That's all it means.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it doesn't mean that if you leave, we're going to let you come back in. You need a green card for that.
Exactly what it is. And an uncle of mine passed away from cancer, his dad, and both my cousins, they're both under DACA, and they couldn't even go.
Right. So what is DACA?
Because they were afraid that if they go, they can't come back in.
It's like we're abused kids, right? Like we all, and Latinos, we have abused, we've been abused every fucking day of our childhood. But it's like, the day where your dad doesn't hit you, your mom doesn't fucking yell at you. That's a good day, right? They don't have to be nice to you, but they just have to not hit you. And that's how we are with the government, right? The government, oh, you're not going to treat us like fucking dog shit? Then, oh, thank you, you're so great. No, People need to lift their heads up more, man, and demand more respect. And that starts with respecting themselves, right? Because what you demand of yourself, if you treat yourself with respect, you're not going to let somebody else disrespect you or treat you any less, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's,
and as a Marine, you know that, right? That's how Marines walk around, like, motherfucker, you're not going to punk me. I'm a Marine, right?
Chest up, chest. You're proud. You're proud
fucking
of what
devil
you did.
Dogs over here.
You show it off.
Yeah. So. All right, man. Well, thank you for coming on. I mean, do you want people to find you on social media, or do you want to stay anonymous? I mean, like, you gave your name out. Are you on social media, or?
I really don't post like a lot of like political stuff on social media. I try to keep it very personal. So eventually, if they find me, they find me. If not, then it's on them. But like I said, it's more of a personal thing. The only reason I have social media is to stay in touch with other Marines or just like childhood friends or people that I went to school with. So
yeah, I mean, if I knew that being in media, being a writer would involve like being a fucking social media whore. Like, I wanted to be a writer. When I decided to be a writer, that was back in 2005, 2006, before Facebook, right? Before MySpace. If I would have known that being a writer, I would have to spend so much time like fucking social media, I would have been like, nah, you know what the fuck? Fuck you, fuck that. I'll just do something else. Social media has ruined a lot of things. I get that it's made people aware of stuff, but it's ruined discourse. It's ruined politics. It's ruined everything, man. Everybody's just so fucking at each other's throats, and they think they're right. And
it just, people don't take the time to listen to the other side. And like you said, we're fighting each other. We're contradicting each other. We can't think for ourselves. If you say something, people get butthurt. Everything has to be so PG that even Facebook nowadays, you type a word and right away it's like a red flag, and then you get blocked for 2-3 days.
Yeah. Like if you don't, like this to wrap it up with Latinx. I mean, dude, if Latinos are gonna get power. If black people, we have to stop worried about words, man. What happened to sticks and stones? When I was a kid, my parents taught me sticks and stones may break your bones, but words will never hurt you. And I being a kid, I believed that, right? And so, yeah, I've been called a nigger a couple of times. I was called a porch monkey at Woodfield by this old white lady. I just laughed because I'm not a porch monkey. I'm not a nigger. Nobody's a nigger. Nobody's a porch monkey. But if somebody calls me a porch monkey and I blow it out of proportion, that's going to give everybody the impression that I think I'm a porch monkey or that I might be a porch monkey. I'm not. Right?
Yeah. No.
So call me whatever the fuck you want. Call me a fucking leprechaun. I don't give a fuck what you call me. Like, I know what I am. People need to fucking nut up, man, because we know there's a fight. We need to fight for this country. We need to fight for what's right and for what's good. And if we're afraid of words, if we're afraid of a vowel, I need the X or else I'm going to feel exposed. Dude, I'll give you the last word on that.
No, I completely agree with you. And I think if people are attacking us with those words and we react to it, then we're becoming what they want us to be. So that's how I see it. And like I said, if you carry yourself a certain way and you don't give people a reason to, then they have nothing against you, or they can't use anything against you. But the moment you start giving people ammunition, they're going to take that, they're going to load it, and they're going to fire right back at you.
Yeah, people love fucking with you. Don't let them fuck with you. Don't let them touch you. Be untouchable. Thanks, man, for coming on, man. This was a great fucking conversation. I know you were nervous at first, but hey, right? It's fun.
No, I just didn't know what was going to get thrown at me, so I was just like, you know what?
This ain't fucking NPR and shit. I'm not going to grill you and shit. But thanks for coming on, Julian. Say hi to your brother for me.
Well, dude, I'm about to meet up with him for like a couple minutes. So
tell him I said what's up, man. I miss you guys, man. I miss wheeling, and let me know if you guys want to, after this whole pandemic, you guys want to head out to Vegas, and I'll show you guys a good time.
Definitely. Sounds good.
Peace, bro.
All right. Have a good one.